All right. And good evening to everybody that is joining us for another episode of Talk Like That, where I, Mark Dallas, will be interviewing Rachel Jacob, who is a filmmaker, writer, and director from New Orleans. And she states that her aim in filmmaking is to tell stories that move the heart as well as have real world impact. So, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on Talk Like That. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor. And I think you're actually the first director I've interviewed. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Thank
so
you. That's
it's a
awesome.
first. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and I understand that, like I said, you're from New Orleans,
Yes.
and you currently live there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Except that you're not actually at home at the
No.
moment.
No, I'm
Wait,
not.
are you, are you on vacation, Rachel? Like,
I am not on vacation. I am currently displaced from Hurricane Ida. So,
so you're an
um
internally displaced person.
yeah. Yeah. So, it's bizarre. I'm in Mississippi at my sister's place, and we've been waiting for the power to come back on and assess the damage and all of that. So it's been a bizarre couple of weeks, and it happened on the anniversary of Katrina, which is also super weird. And I don't know, it's every I think that the whole state is suffering majorly. It's not just New Orleans was hit
You
very
were
bad, but it's also all like everything south and east of the city is just devastated. And I think everybody's plans for the pretty much the rest of the year have been like flipped upside down. So
canceled. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
And we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that you were there for Katrina as well. And we won't go into it because I think people know a lot more. They remember Katrina, where that was more of a. You were saying that was more of a
Yeah.
flood damage thing that happened back then.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one is.
Yeah, there was like water sitting in the city for 5 weeks. In some places 15 feet of it. And but this time it wasn't so much the water as the wind. The wind from Ida was insane. A lot of people lost their houses collapsed, or the roofs caved in.
Mhm.
um and buildings are down. Like there's so many more uh buildings and stuff, especially like in the city, that took major damage, like historical buildings and stuff like that. It's
And,
really
and some people have died,
horrible.
right? I mean, there's.
Yeah, I think this count is at like 15 right now or something. It's awful. So I don't, we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna know for a while the full extent. But I'm just grateful to have gotten out, and
But
I didn't
how
think we were going to, and then we realized how bad it was, and
how what was it like getting out of the city?
well, we kind of waited a little longer. I got together with some of my family, and I thought we were all just going to be together, like just staying in the city like normal, because it's fairly normal to ride out a storm, or even like a one or a two. But then it kept getting stronger. It was like, oh, three, four. Oh no, we got to get the hell out. And it started turning a little more towards the city. So we were like, we got to get out. And we sort of left like super early that morning, and there was no one on the road because everyone had already done this mass exodus because they were smarter than us. But at the same time, we didn't get all that traffic. So, we kind of like threw. It was like, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning where we realized how bad it was getting, and it was like, okay, throw stuff in a suitcase, get in the car, go. That's what we did. It was really surreal, and haven't been back since. So it was just sort of like very quick. Um,
Have you been able to assess damage to like the place where you lived, like the actual property,
Yeah,
or
yeah. So I mean, we did definitely we got some damage, but it's not horrific, and we'll be able to like take care of it.
okay?
I just got a text a little while ago that like we just got power back, but there's no internet yet. So um, probably by this weekend, getting, packing everything up here and going back and figuring out like what's doable. Our street's kind of weird. Like I don't trust that the power's going to stay on. So we'll see
Right.
like what happens. So a lot of people got power like over the last 2 days. So we just got it. So I'm very glad. But yeah, like we lucked out way more than a lot of people and some of my friends that I know who, so I can't wait to go get back and like check in on everybody.
Yeah, and like not having power, not having power is like a major thing. Like, I know this. Like, okay, I'm sitting up here pretty in Toronto. Like, we're okay. Like, okay,
Yeah.
a heavy storm last night. It rained heavy. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, we've had floods and stuff in Toronto, but like not for a few years. But the thing is, like, every now and then we'll get a power outage just for no apparent reason, but they're pretty few and far between, and they're fairly rare. But like when they happen and the power's off for more than like a couple of hours,
Yeah.
it starts going through your mind like, fuck, like what do I do with all the food and
Yep.
in the freezer? But like when it's several days, it's like, yeah, everything's fucked.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
everything. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to questions about you rather than your current situation.
No, yeah, it's
Being a
fine.
refugee.
I know it's like this is so weird, but like it's
So
fine.
let's think happy thoughts.
Yeah.
What is it that drives you?
Oh gosh. In general, or
Yeah,
like in my field.
either, both.
I think people drive me in general, like relationships and yeah, definitely people. And I would say in my field, whatever crazy need to tell a story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the thread that runs through anybody that works in film, I guess, or
Yeah.
TV or in the
Mhm.
theater or what have you. So yeah,
Yeah.
the need to tell a story and to tell it in a particular way.
Yeah.
And so I understand, like you, I mean, you've covered quite a few bases in the industry. Like you're an actor as well as a writer and a producer and a director, right?
Yeah.
So you've done all of those things. I don't know how you've managed to do all those things in the short time you've been alive, but what was it that drew you towards directing? How did you get there?
Um, it's actually been a long journey. I tried it a long time ago because I wanted to do it. It's like I think all I said is I want to direct or like whatever, but never really saw how to do that. But I've been around the industry like my whole life. My whole dad's side of the family is in the industry. Um, but so I saw a lot of it, and then um, I got into theater, and I did. Later on, I started working like in production, like on the bigger shows and stuff, but at a very, very low level, and I learned a lot of the ropes. But then, um, being able to take my ideas and distill them into a narrative story has been and being able to do it decently has been a little bit of a journey. Like my early stuff was no good, and I still think I still have a long way to go. But I think I talked about it with somebody else in like a podcast, but there are people who I think are prodigies who can like just come out of the woodwork and like they hit the nail on the head the first time. I am not one of those people. I
Don't you,
need
don't you just
practice.
hate those people?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like I like love that they exist and like they inspire me to know that it can be done. But it's also just like, man, that is so not in my wheelhouse. But I don't know. I think it's been this like journey of like discovering that like I want to tell okay, I want to tell stories, and like, what do I need to do in order to do that? And like learning how to direct and like what that really means um, has been a huge journey, and I'm just like majorly still, I think, undertaking it and discovering more and more. So, I mean, getting into it, like, first you just have to do it. You just have to like create a project and like do it and try and fail and like
Right.
whatever, you know?
And the
Um,
failing is a main feature, right? I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that like you got to fail a few times before you can become good at whatever it is
yeah,
you're doing. You got to fuck up, right?
yes, big
So,
time. Yeah. I'm sure that there are many more failings ahead of me, but you know, um,
and
it
so,
is what it is. Yeah.
okay,
But
and
yeah. No, go ahead.
so tell me what is something about your work that drives you bonkers? Like what drives you crazy?
Well, right now, this hurricane and the fact that I can't, like, I was supposed to start shooting a project tomorrow. And that is just like postponed until further notice, which is devastating.
Yeah.
Something about it, I think, right now for me, I'm at this place of like, that there, you know, that there's a lot of barriers, I think, for people. Um, you know, Hollywood is very insular. And there's a lot of walls that you have to break through and jump over and all
What
these
sort
things.
of walls, for example?
Um, how to get into the right circles so that you can get the resources that you need to make the projects that you envision.
So the right
Um,
connections, in other words.
what? The right what?
The right
The
connections
right
with
connections,
people.
the right, yeah, the networking, all of that. So I think that's one of the things that is hardest, whereas I think in a lot of other fields, the networking is done differently or is set up in a different way. So like so I think the hierarchy and the way that they want you to jump through certain hoops
Right. And I
is
think hierarchy
quite,
is a key word here, right? I mean,
yeah, it's
it's no
maddening. Mhm.
democracy.
Yeah,
It's not a
exactly.
democratic thing
Not at
where
all.
like the people with the best stories or the people with the most talent
Yeah.
are the ones that actually get a fair crack at the whip. It's yeah,
No.
like you said, it's like it's who
Yeah.
you know and how you can get in there.
Yeah, it's an empire. It's like whatever. But I mean, I also, um, you know, so I feel, I don't know, there is, you know, and then there's also the whole concept of like paying your dues and I don't know what, and it's like, what is enough, you know, and like, because there's people who have done way less than I have and are way further along. And then there's people who have done way more than I have and who are behind me, you know what I mean? So it's just, it's so bizarre. So I don't know, I find myself in I think a sort of frustrating place of like breaking through walls, and I've been able to break through many, and now it's just every time, I think every time you find yourself up against a wall or up against like a barrier of some sort, it's like, how do I get over this, you know, how do I get over this hump, how do I get through this wall, how do I do this next thing? So anytime in any field, right, it's frustrating and you have to figure it out, and I'm at this next section of like, okay, well, how do I do this? So it's just figuring out, and
And
you got to
also
keep going.
I,
Yeah.
it's not lost on me the irony
Mhm.
that we're two. I think you're white. I think you two white
Yeah,
people talking about
Creole, yeah.
how
Mhm.
hard it is. So
Mhm.
because the other thing about
Yeah.
Hollywood, of course, is the lack of diversity
Yeah.
to a huge extent.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, if it's hard
Mhm.
for
Yeah, if it's hard
people
for
about
me, yeah, it's hard. It's especially hard for people who have even more of a diverse background to where I'm from compared to where, you know, to where I'm from than, you know, than I do. So, yeah, well, and that's the thing too that I, you know, and I've said this before in other places of like, um, you know, because a lot of people ask me about like being a female in the industry, you know, because there's that whole issue and
yeah,
whatnot. And I'm like, you know, it's not about taking opportunities away from men or closing doors. Um, but it's about creating more doors. It's about opening more doors for women, for people of color, for people of all like cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities, and like there's just so many more stories to tell. Like,
Mhm.
I said before, I've said before that Hollywood has been hiring the same 12 white men for forever, and I love the stories by those 12 white men, and they've earned it and they do a great job and whatever. Please keep making movies.
Mhm.
However,
Yeah, yeah.
please
It's
make
kind of
everyone
like
else's.
construction. Like, whenever you
Yeah.
go,
Hmm.
you traveling, you going down the street and you see
Hmm.
construction workers, and it's like they've
Yeah.
all got the hard hats on, and it's like, oh, that that's a guy with long hair. No, oh, that's a woman. It's not a very small guy. It's actually a
Yeah.
woman working in construction, and I'm like
Yeah.
inside going, yay, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's kind
Hmm.
of like that, and I think maybe the representation for women in Hollywood as directors, at least, it's even lower. I think
Oh
even
God,
compared to
it's
construction.
abysmal. Yeah, it's abysmal. It's abysmal, and I think at least there's now some attention to that fact. But there needs to be more, and I don't, and again, not in a way of like where it takes away anything from the men who are just as talented or whatever. But it's just like the like we have as women, as people from other ethnicities and backgrounds have not had an opportunity to tell their stories, and they're equally as talented. So like, let's broaden the field. Like, and hey, there's so much more money to be made for Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, if you tell more stories, all you're gonna do is increase your audience and the types of people who are gonna want to watch what you put out, because you're gonna have so many different options, and people get to tell and share their stories and their vision and their experiences, so that's definitely what it's
So,
about.
as
Yeah.
a woman who is a director, have you what kind of resistance have you come across? Like, have you ever, I mean, you must have experienced certain barriers there, like whether it's between you and an actor that, I don't know, is used to being directed by a man, or what kind of things have you come up against?
Not so much of that, but it was more, especially when I was a little younger, how dealing with other crew members or other producers, and I felt I had to act a certain way, or um come across a certain way, or like stay in a certain, like, this is your place, like, you know what I mean.
Stay in your
um
lane.
Stay in your lane. Yeah, yeah. Or if you come across as too aggressive or anything like that.
Okay.
There was definitely some really weird situations. Specifically as a director, I haven't um really run into it too much, because I think it's more like, oh good, like more women directors. That's sort of been the
Mhm.
um idea lately, but it's more of just like, okay, people not necessarily putting their resources where their mouth is. You know what I mean? Like, if you, and it's not just me, this has been like a lot of people that I know's experiences of just like, women in particular pitching or getting their stuff out there to production companies, or producers or what have you, or networks, and they go with the typical thing instead of,
They go
and
with
it's,
safe. They're more
yeah,
likely to, they'll play it safe rather than,
right, yeah,
oh,
exactly,
there's too
which
much
is
at stake here. We'll just go with what we know. Yeah.
right, which is super problematic, that like, not you, but like that is what is considered safe, if you will, like, but yeah, so I'm just like, I still think that there's a lot of talk and not as much action. Like,
Right.
we have a little bit of action here and there. Um,
I thought it was interesting how
yeah.
your choice of wording when I mean, you were saying like the way that women in the industry can be perceived as too aggressive,
Hmm.
where when it's just that they're as assertive as a man might be in the same position,
Yeah.
not considered aggressive. It's like they're just telling people the way it
Yeah.
is. But when
Yeah, I'm just like telling you what's going on. Like I'm just telling you how things need to be. Like it's not a big, it's the whole. It's like the cliche of like, oh, women get called bitches for things that men get called bosses for, and it's like that's it's such a stereotype. That is so freaking true. Like it's not, and not all men do it, obviously, but like, oh my God, that is a very true and real experience. I've had it. I know a lot of other women who've had it, and it's just like there's not 1 ounce of like bitchiness going on here. It's just like we need to get this done. Like let's go. you
Yeah,
know?
and also there's a big difference between boss and bossy, because bossy
Yeah.
sometimes gets used as well, right? It's like a man
Yeah.
is assertive, but
Mhm.
the woman is bossy. She's
Yeah, I can't stand it.
bossing everyone around.
Yeah. One of the things that I will intentionally do sometimes because I think in the back of my head for men like this, maybe I'm making this up or this is just some weird idea that I've come up with that like
Let's hear it. I love weird.
yeah, is it because my like voice is higher pitched and that like comes across as like annoying and I worry about that in like meetings or whatever. So I will intentionally lower the register of my voice and like speak lower
It's,
to
yeah.
sound more like authoritative or
Yeah, yeah, and that is
calm.
actually that's a tactic that
Yeah.
is actually employed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
Oh, really? Well, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I don't
that's
know,
a
but I
tactic that's
guess.
employed
Yeah.
by a lot of women to
Mhm.
give their voice a lower timbre, and also
Mhm.
men as well, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about now the women that rightly so want to be taken seriously
Mhm.
and sound like they're authoritative because they're in a
Yeah.
position of authority, right? And then
Yeah.
taking that and like lowering the voice. I mean, this is
Mhm.
what Margaret Thatcher. I mean, I hate Margaret Thatcher, but like this is what she was taught when she came into power. I've been told before, like, oh well, you don't like you don't like Margaret Thatcher because she's no.
Right.
I hate Margaret Thatcher because she was an asshole. That's the thing, not because she was a woman. And maybe that's how she got into power. Like that was part of it. But she
Yeah.
was taught to lower
Her
her
voice.
pitch. The pitch,
That's
yeah,
so
exactly. That's
interesting.
the subconscious thing that
Yeah.
it's like, well, if somebody's got a higher voice, then people like
Yeah, it's like,
would
it's annoying. I don't want to be annoying, and I want to be like not. I want to be like, oh, okay. Like I want it to be like, oh,
right.
calming. So
But then
it's
there's a
just something in
difference.
the back of my head, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, there's a different like there's strident, like some people will have a higher pitch voice, but it's not
Mhm.
the pitch. It's more like sometimes the voice can be like very, I don't know, drills into your head, like ah,
Like
yeah,
screeching.
like too almost screamy
Mhm.
and I mean that's unfortunate. But
Yeah.
what I mean is that it's taken to the extent where subconsciously on a mass level, a lot of women have lowered their voice subconsciously to like have that lower timbre,
Mhm.
but then got to the point where sometimes at the end it goes down as far as it can, then goes into vocal fry. So there's that
Uh-oh.
vocal fry thing that would drop off at the end, which
Yeah.
again is what a lot of people find annoying or perceive as being an annoying thing. It's like you
Yeah.
can't, like
You
you're
can't win.
between a right, exactly between a
Yeah.
rock and a hard place. It's like, well, where's the range you're
Mhm.
giving me here?
Yeah. Well,
So
and
like,
and it's probably horrible. I probably shouldn't do that or like play into that because it's like I shouldn't have to change my voice for you to listen to me. You know what I mean? Or that like female, like that somehow like female voices are somehow annoying or less authoritative or like whatever. And I don't want to be playing into that. So I probably
yeah,
should
mass
stop doing that.
perception.
But
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But for a long, yeah, that was something I did for a long time. I don't know if I've done it lately. I haven't really had the opportunity or need lately, which is good. But yeah, it's bizarre. It's a bizarre thing,
yeah.
you know? Yeah. But
Okay. So, have you ever like one of my questions is, have you ever had to deal with tricky actors, like difficult actors?
Yeah, but not as a director.
Oh,
As
I
I
as a
yeah,
fellow
it was
actor.
well, a little bit, but more when I was in production, and
Uh,
I was an assistant director for
okay.
in that department. So I was a production
Can you talk?
assistant, and
Can you talk
what
about it?
I mean, yeah, I can talk. I mean, yeah,
I
vaguely.
mean, you don't have to.
I'm
Yeah,
probably
I'm
not
not
gonna name
asking you
names,
to name
but
names, but
yeah, no, yeah. So well, then yes, definitely some major divas. Couple times, yeah, and a few little inappropriate,
oh,
moments. But I was too young to like. Or I wasn't too young.
yeah,
I
true
was
stories
really
there.
young to like.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to clap back, or I didn't know what to do about it, and it was like kind of right before Me Too, started.
It wasn't something that starts with "Come to my trailer." It wasn't one of those, was it?
No, wasn't that well, I was invited, but I didn't go. So,
My God,
yeah.
that happens. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard these stories are prolific. It's
Yeah.
so freaking
Mhm.
horrible that
Yeah.
it is so prolific. It's almost
Well, and what's weird too, it's not even just like sexual stuff either. It could be, if you don't go do the drugs with the right producer, then you kind of get frozen out because I learned that quickly about there was a show that I was on, and there was a producer going around to the younger female PAs and inviting them to do cocaine with him in like in his trailer. And thank God I caught on. Like I heard before like it came around to me, and I kind of I didn't get involved because I was like no way am I gonna do like no way am I gonna do that. But like um it was it the but there was like a lot of pressure, and I would get nervous whenever that particular person would come on set.
yeah, no
And
shit.
I could see it in the eyes of a few other people and the behavior of a few other people that like things got weird, and it was just like
Yeah.
so it's like if you don't play the game however they want you to play it, you get frozen out. You know what I mean? So uh there's way more uh
There's probably more awareness
yeah,
of that.
awareness. There's precautions in place now. There's safe places to go for that now. So there's way less of it, which is great. At least in production.
Took a while.
So it took a while.
Took a
Yeah.
minute or
Ugh,
two,
yeah, for
but
real.
finally, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
me, what is the scariest thing that's happened to you on a production?
Well, I guess there's a lot of different answers to that. It depends on what way you mean. I will say I was on a crazy sort of like guerrilla style set with a crew from France, and I had so much fun um going around, but there was a pretty dangerous situation that happened
Oh,
where the wrong type of glass was bought for a scene. We built a um like a fake underground burrow, and they were shooting it sort of like where you would like shoot into it dissect like so it would look dissected. So they put glass up. This is so not how you do any of this, but like they we cut into this hillside, and they put this giant like piece of glass up against this side of like a dirt wall, and like dug a burrow into it, and they wanted to flood it. So they put all like whatever. I was running around like I was like the little production coordinator of whatever of this like insane guerrilla style shoot. And they didn't tell me what they wanted to do with the glass or anything like that. So all of a sudden the glass arrives and they stick it in the hill. I'm like, oh my god, what are we doing? They wanted to flood it. So okay, so they lit everything and they get the cameras in there. The crew, so everybody's under this like tarp halfway into this hill with wires everywhere and this giant piece of glass, and like they're starting to flood this like armadillo burrow for this scene or whatever. So they're shooting it, and the glass breaks as they're filling it, as they're filling up the side of the hill.
So it wasn't reinforced glass. It was
No,
just
it wasn't safety glass. So it bursts towards the crew. The water in the glass goes everywhere, towards the wires, towards everyone. Like, glass went everywhere. It got all over everybody. People got cut. They had a wire gotten slashed, we all would have been electrocuted. Like,
shit.
that would have been it. And everybody just sort of had this like come to Jesus moment of like that, like,
Wow.
we all could have just been died right here, right now. Like,
Did
they didn't get the right kind of glass.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I should use this phrase, but did heads roll?
They should have, but no, because of certain situations.
Right.
Oh, well, although there, one of the guys, I think it was like one of the grips or whatever, found out about the glass and lit into the director for not specifying and for not ordering safety glass. And I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
That's what safety glass is for. So yeah, that was pretty scary and quite a laugh now for like, I almost died in an armadillo burrow one time, like kind of weird.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
I mean, on the plus side, I guess you're in France, so like healthcare.
No, I was not in France. I was actually in the States with a French crew, which was why it was so
terrible. Yeah.
I was just like,
terrible situation.
So
if anybody has to go to hospital, it's like, you got insurance? No. See ya.
I know.
In France, at least, it's like, oh,
right, exactly.
You have a tickle in your throat? No problem. We send out ambulance to you. We check you out in your home. No problem.
Yeah. But I mean, look, I had so much fun with them, and it was a little nice to, because they was just like, the rules, who cares? But I'm like, what? But I was also like, it was a nice break from this, like, American rigid, like, whatever, like, so there's definitely, I think we could take some things from
different feel to it.
Different, yeah, exactly. But I mean, a few things, not so much.
Okay. Talking of scary and difficult, have you ever hired a dialect coach for a production?
I have not hired one, but I have been on set with one. And it's very cool. I think that they're needed, and they should be used when attempting a dialect from a region that you do not know or have mastered, or even if you have worked with it a little bit before, like, whatever, get a dialect coach if you can, because it's respectful.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. It's respectful, and it's also, I mean, I think it helps you get into character more,
right?
Or at least it would for me, like,
as well, right?
So. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was telling you earlier, like, I came from a theater background with acting, so emphasis on getting an accent correct was a little more, perhaps, like you were saying, you find in America that it's not so emphasis here, but in at least in theater, there was more of an emphasis. And the first thing that they did for us in theater was to do the American, master American, for us, or whatever, North American non-regional diction.
Right, of course, yeah.
So you master that first,
so-called general American, yeah.
Yeah, general American, and from there, if you can do that, it's much, much easier to insert, especially in any type of Anglo dialect, into whatever you've got going on, because you've got like a certain foundation and palette, to work from. So yeah, which is what you do, which is so cool.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, would you ever consider hiring a dialect coach for a production?
Oh, absolutely. I would love, I can't wait to be able to be in a position to do that. if any, whenever I have a story that will call for it, absolutely. In fact, actually, one of my uh one of my features that I am casting for right now. I have one of the kid that I'm looking at for the lead is from the UK, and he's
Oh,
got, he has a very sort of, it's not, it's, I think it's a little bit northern, a little bit of a northern accent.
mhm.
But so I asked him to, okay, can you do an American accent, whatever, and he can, but it needs a little fine tuning. So
Yeah,
whenever that happens and we shoot, if
mhm.
he is the, if he's the winner, I will have a
He's the one
dialect
who gets
coach
it. Yeah, that's
for
cool.
him. Yeah, but
Mm.
he's already got a great solid foundation. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, that's often the case. Is it's like
Yeah.
you just have somebody on there to kind of tweak it and just listen out for those telltale things that come
Yeah.
through. Like a
Yeah.
word that's said in a certain way, it's like, okay, well, if that word were in that set
Mhm.
in this dialect, then
Mhm.
that would be perfect. But that's not
Yeah.
how Americans say tomorrow, right?
Right.
Or like they don't, or
Mhm.
whatever it is. Like quite often,
Right.
I'll come across Canadian actors that is like, oh yeah, tomorrow. It's like, no, hang on, no, this character is American. They don't say tomorrow;
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
tomorrow and
Yeah.
borrow, but they do say, forest. So yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
trying to get the right words in the right set, really, like lexical sets.
It's
Anyway,
highly detailed. It's highly detailed. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's kind of, sort of, I don't know if
Mhm.
sporadic is the right way, but it's messy. It's a freaking
Yeah.
mess, like, as
Oh,
you
totally.
move across the map, and that's why I find it so fascinating, and I think when you
Yeah.
chose the word palette, it was
Mhm.
perfect because that's how I see it. It's like
Yeah.
painting a picture with a particular palette of
Yeah.
colors that, some of these colors are in that accent, but others are not, and it's like a different sort of, you know, tint.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that
exactly.
was
We
cool.
always we always have a really hard time with or at least in New Orleans, particularly when we shoot down here and try to master the New Orleans, because it is so unique and very, very specific to that city, where, because it's not Southern, it's not New York, it's not Boston, but it's a combination of like Creole, Cajun, New York, Boston, and
Right.
Southern. And it's this, and we call it a Yat accent. And like, I've hardly ever seen anyone be able to speak that way. You'll have to check it out. Come
Yeah,
down to New
definitely.
Orleans sometime and hear
Oh, I'd
hear the
love to.
regional
I love it. When you've got
accents.
the
It's very different.
electricity back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we turn the power back on, it'll be great.
And
give
then when
us
there's
give
not
us
a
a few
storm
months.
brewing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
like, the what I'm thinking of is, do you remember True Blood?
Yeah.
And that was set down there, wasn't it? That was around
Yeah,
New
but
Orleans.
but that was more of like set in northern Louisiana, which is very different.
Okay. Yeah.
Very, very different.
'Cause I
Yeah.
remember there was a Creole guy in that, and he
Hmm.
had a really bizarre kind of like francophone kinda accent, but he was
Yeah.
like Cajun. He was,
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't realize that Creole and Cajun are completely different.
mhm,
And they're different. They're different accents, and they're different like ethnic backgrounds.
right,
Well,
yeah.
there is a lot of sharing of French, but it's a where that French
That's
comes
funny,
from.
yeah, the origins, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
'Cause the
So
Cajuns coming down all the way down the Mississippi from Arcadie,
yeah, from Arcadia and
Acadien, Cajun,
Acadia. No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there
Acadia.
to I
Mhm.
went up to the original, Arcadie area. It's up
Mhm.
in, like, New Brunswick, Nova
Mhm.
Scotia area.
Yeah.
There's still, like, it's still a francophone area up there. Like, New
Wow.
Brunswick is an officially bilingual, it's the only officially bilingual province in Canada, but it's amazing because you've got
Wow.
people will just, like, they don't just, like, switch. They're not just code switching, like, depending on who they're talking to. They're
Mhm.
code switching mid-sentence. It
Oh yeah, I love that. Hmm.
it's it's amazing, and it's
Yeah.
like they'll just, like, on a word, like, and then the rest will be French, and then back into English, and then
Hmm.
halfway through. But, yeah, the French up there, like, it's not even Québécois French.
It's its own
It
thing.
yeah,
It's like
it's
the
so
Cajun French. Yeah, it's
yeah,
become its own the thing. Yeah.
it's amazing, amazing. That's
Yeah.
just, That's just American French, North American, I guess.
Mhm.
So, what people would you, apart from me, of course, what people would you love to work with in the future?
I would love to work with you in the future, definitely. Um, oh man, I'd love to work with Kate Winslet. Oh my
Right,
God.
and now that was a great accent she did in Mayor of Easttown, right? That that was pretty.
Yes, major to her. I'd love to hear what the think of all of the actors. I mean, because I could hear a few little things that were not quite
Mhm.
on the money, but they did a fantastic job. And she is a pretty good master of accents. She's a
Well,
German in The Reader, and I mean, she does all kinds of stuff.
she has
Mhm.
like she's had her own dialect coach for years.
Yeah,
Like she's got the
that'll do
same
it.
person that she works with the whole time.
Oh, that's
And like
fantastic. Yeah.
they spend hours and hours and hours and hours. And I know with this one, with the Delco accent, I read that she was like throwing things because like she was so frustrated with trying to get the subtleties of the ah
Yeah,
sound, whether
I
it's
can
followed by an
appreciate that.
an like a man, or whether it's a ah straight. Like she
Wow.
apparently that was like throwing her into conniptions, and like trying to do that was really tricky for her.
Wow.
I mean, the
Yeah.
obvious one, like the "oh," like
Yeah.
"so," all that,
Ew,
that's you
yeah.
can pick that up, but, you
Yeah.
know, but it
It's
was
the
like
subtleties.
yeah,
It's the details. Yeah, totally.
yeah.
She I I think she's one of the most prolific actors of our time. Like she's gonna be like she's like it's like Meryl Streep, Kate Winslet, Maggie Smith
Mhm.
are like top 3. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, and
100%.
not only that, but she's really nice. Like, I mean, she's not like, she's the sort of person that can laugh at herself,
Yeah.
right?
Have you worked with her?
I've not worked with I'd love to work with her. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I if you ever get to work with her, let me know so I can just come
Yeah,
and
maybe
watch.
we'll all
And
do
yeah,
meet up and work
we'll
with.
do a
Hey,
pincer movement
Kate.
on her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And but I've seen
totally.
her in, have you ever seen there's something called Extras, which was
Yes.
Ricky Gervais.
Yes, of course. I
That
totally saw
show's
it. And she was the
amazing.
nun. Oh my
Yeah, the
God, that
nun.
was
And she's
hysterical.
basically, because
Yes.
everybody plays themselves in that.
Yes.
All the guest stars are playing themselves, and
Yes.
playing
Oh,
themselves up. And in that, she
freaking
was like,
hilarious.
"What have I got to
Yes.
do to get a fucking Oscar?" It's like,
Yeah.
so this time, I'm gonna be a
Oh,
nun, and I'm gonna, yeah.
that
So
was amazing. Yeah. And I think that right after that, she did The Reader, which was really funny. And then won the Oscar. So
right, right,
that was great.
exactly.
Yes, I have seen Extras.
But and
Yeah.
there's a great, I think it's a Saturday Night Live skit on her doing the Delco accent in that, and it's brilliant. If you've
Oh,
not
I have to
seen
go.
it,
I have not seen
you've
that. I
got
have
to
to go
find it.
find
It's
it.
very, very funny. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
will.
yeah. And apparently she was asked about that, like if she'd seen it. She said, "Oh yeah, I've seen it, and it's great, and it gives me so much validation." You
That's
know,
awesome. Oh,
like yeah.
cool. Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
now, yeah, Kate
Yeah.
Winslet would be a great one, I think.
Yeah, totally.
So you wrote, I'm gonna sort of check. I'm turning the corner here now,
Sure.
changing the tone a little bit, because you wrote and directed and acted in a short that you've got coming out fairly soon, I believe. It's called Four on the Mantle, and I understand that it deals with some very tricky sort of subject matter. I wonder if you could tell
Yeah.
me a bit about, about the movie and about why you chose to write about it.
Yeah, sure. So that's actually the project that we were supposed to start shooting tomorrow.
Right.
It's been postponed a couple of times because of COVID and because of crazy things. But yeah, so I wrote it. It's called Four on the Mantle. It is a story about miscarriage as experienced through a family lens. So it's the woman's experience, the partner's experience, the husband, and also the extended family.
Mhm.
Um,
And
I,
that's a very taboo subject, right?
Yeah, nobody knows how to
Still.
talk about it. And yeah, and I don't even think I'm saying that I know how to talk about it necessarily even in the film. I think that's kind of the point, is that nobody really knows how to talk about it, but it's actually just sort of like bringing it up and like realizing that, hey, we can have a conversation about it and we should talk about it, and you should talk to especially the women in your life, but people in your life who've couples that have experienced this, men who have experienced this and haven't like fully processed or like need to talk about it, and how like um grieving a miscarriage is as varied an individual as many people have gone through it, you know, like it's so um unique, but I don't think people realize how many people, like it's so many people. I
Yeah.
think it's like one, the statistics are insane as to like how many women will have a miscarriage at some point in their life. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of family and friends who have had a miscarriage. And
I would
um,
I would put it out there that most people know somebody that's had one, but
oh yeah,
they don't know that they've had one. That
oh yeah.
I mean, it's that
Mhm.
common
Yeah,
because people don't, because it's not something that comes up at the dinner table
right.
or any family events. Like, oh, by the way, yeah, I meant to
Yeah,
say last Tuesday,
right.
I had a miscarriage. It was
Yeah,
terrible. It's
yeah,
never
exactly.
there's never the right moment
To talk
to say
about
it in
it.
society. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, and I feel like it's I don't know. What I've experienced, even just telling people about the project and sharing one of the part of the campaign with people, is that they've just started telling us their stories.
Mhm.
So part of the campaign was because we did a crowdfunding for it, and part of the campaign was and it's that part is actually still active, where anyone who has had a miscarriage, or if they know someone who has, and if they would like to submit the name of their child or their family name, we're going to put it in an in memoriam section in the credits, and it's totally for free. Like, we're not asking for any money or anything like that for that. We just want to do it, in honor of people who've been through this experience.
What I'll do, maybe if I can get the link for
Yeah, I'll
that,
send you
I'll
I'll send you that info.
put it down in the comments. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But people, because of that, people have started emailing us their stories, and it all comes out and they tell us that this whole amazing, I mean, like, I've sat at the computer bawling my eyes out,
Yeah.
and then also just having conversations with people. And a lot of people who are involved in the crew that has come together have had, like, the story has like touched them in some way, where either they've had that experience themselves, or they know someone who has, or it's been in their family, and they talk about it, and they want to be a part of this and tell the story,
Mhm.
because um I think it's important. I think it helps people, just lets that topic breathe. You know what I mean? Like,
It's therapy.
it's therapy, yeah, like,
Yeah.
if you watch it, if you talk about it, if it helps you think about it, if it helps you process at all, that's
Yeah.
why this story exists. So, it's not like this thing that's gonna heal everyone or anything like that, but I think it's important that it helps get the subject out there, so people can do that more and make it less taboo, and make it like this thing of like, oh, hey, we can talk about this, and how can we provide resources, and how can we support people who have been through this type of thing, even if it's just like acknowledging what they've been through, because I
Yeah.
think it's even just, you don't have to know what to say. There is no perfect thing to say,
Mhm.
but just being able to acknowledge it. So as soon as natural disasters and pandemics allow, we will shoot this bad boy, because it's ready to go. So
Great.
I'm very excited. It's very close to my heart, and it had been on this idea of doing something about this subject had been on my mind for a couple of years, because of a couple of people who are very, very close to me had been through some really horrific miscarriages, and I was able to sort of like be there with them through that. And I don't know, it just, that whole experience stuck with me. And then one day this story hit me, and I wrote it, and I was like, we got to make this. So coming to you soon, very hopefully. So yeah,
So
as
that,
soon,
and I guess I'd
yeah,
imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd imagine that the whole process of of writing it and creating this and making this is therapeutic for you too, right? If this is something that's close to your heart, is this part of your process? Like,
I think I don't know if it's therapeutic so much as it is like I'm hoping that it is for other people. Maybe it is. I hadn't really thought about it as therapeutic for myself, actually. And but I guess maybe writing is in general for me, even if I don't like to admit it, because I don't think of it. I don't sit there and I'm like, oh, I'm writing. Ah, no, it's like, ah, you know. I
get it,
think it's
getting it out onto the page. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I write it because I have to, you know. But I think after you're right. There's something about now that it's written, something has come out of me. You know what I mean? And it's there. And now I mean, like I think especially once the whole thing is done, it's going to be like, okay, like I've done this thing, and I've put this part of my heart into it, you know, and hopefully it can help others, you know, or at least if nothing else, just shed a light on the topic more than has been shed. So yeah, we plan on doing a festival run with it and see where
Wonderful.
it goes from there. Yeah, I think, and
Yeah.
maybe Amazon after that. So
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I look forward to it. I really do look forward to seeing this. I mean,
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
it's not something I look forward to it in a very different way that I'd look forward to seeing like a, like a blockbuster or a comedy or something. It's something
Yeah.
that I kind of look forward to because it deals with that subject matter, but not something that's like, okay, let's get the popcorn. It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
that.
It's more of like I'm
Get the tissues.
yeah, like how it's meaningful, hopefully. So, you know, but it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard, you know, it's a hard thing to deal with, but
And
yeah.
I would
Mhm.
imagine that most of the people watching it have some like you're not going for the the teen market.
No, 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 no. It's well, I mean, I'm sure teens could watch it, but
Yeah,
it's definitely for people who have, you know, they're adults and they've been in mature relationships and things like that. Not that teenagers haven't had miscarriages, because they have,
exactly.
but you know, that's not, while they would be able to relate, it's not a teen story. So
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
that's another story
Yeah,
entirely.
exactly. And that's very interesting, actually. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I actually, as we kind of touched on that, I saw a map the other day, just popped up in a post of like the United States and the numbers of teen pregnancies, and
Mm,
it was like the majority of them are in the southeast of the US, like
naturally.
including the area where you are. So it's like so many,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, it's just part of the whole kind of like the divide that exists
It's the
in
heat.
North America. The heat too,
Yeah.
I guess,
I have to laugh. I'm
also
sorry. It's
not
not funny, but
forgetting
like, yeah.
not forgetting
Yeah.
the legacy that
Yeah. Hmm.
we've adopted in the US and Canada too, to
Yeah.
in a different kind of pattern.
Yeah.
But that's another story. So
Yeah.
and so anyway, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. I've had a lot of fun. It's been a
Yeah,
great
me too, Mark.
conversation,
Thanks for having
and
me.
stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks to everybody that's watching this on a replay. Okay.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.